After spending the quarter learning about different aspects of human resources management, we decided to seek graduating Cal Poly seniors of different majors and backgrounds to gain a sense of how Cal Poly prepares its students for their careers. We will be mainly focusing on the hiring process and the foundation of selection.
I'm Juliana Torlai. I am an agriculture communications major, and I plan to go to law school after I graduate in the spring.
My name is Wyatt Spence, and I am a fourth-year agribusiness student.
My name is Mitch Brodnansky. I'm a construction management major, and my plan after graduation is I'm going to be a project engineer for a general contractor based out of the Silicon Valley known as Novo Construction. Cool. For my first internship when I was a sophomore here at Cal Poly, through the CM department, they have info sessions, and Novo Construction came down, and I went to their info session. Following the info session, the next day we had an interview, and went from there.
Yeah, about 2 years ago, I applied for a part-time job at Target.
Okay, so I expressed interest in the job, and then went in and talked to the owners of the company, and then basically they told me they'd let me know if I had the job or not, and then they called me and told me that I had gotten it. So it was very casual, not like a structured interview or anything, because it's a custom farming company.
Yeah, it was an in-person interview with a store manager, and it was mainly behavioral-based questions. So, what was a time where you made a mistake, or what was a time where you exceeded expectations, what happened, and what was the outcome of that situation. That was only my second interview for a job, so I didn't really know what to expect, but I brought a resume with me and prepared a little bit on, saying a little bit about myself and what are my skills and some weaknesses.
My prior interview experience wasn't since way before high school even, so not really. I never really had any classes that prepared me for interviewing techniques or anything such sort, so I wouldn't say I was fully prepared. I kind of just winged it, and as a sophomore you're younger, so you don't really have that experience, but no, not really. I definitely think if Cal Poly offered some sort of classes or seminars. I'm not sure if they do offer seminars. If they do, I'm not unaware of them. But courses that are designed to train you for interviews and conversing with people in the industry.
That's a good question. I feel pretty prepared after having taken a lot of classes at Poly here. I want to enter into a field in sales, marketing, business management, or logistics. So I've taken a lot of classes here at Poly that really directly relate to my field.
Well, I've interned with Novo my past 3 internships. So I do feel very prepared to start my career with them because I've worked with them for so long. So they've basically, they've tailored all my skills, and they've given me the skills necessary to go about, the things that they expect of me.
Really want to do well, graduate at least at the top of my class, and have a few internships with firms through the school, and just really work on how Cal Poly's learned by doing, kind of work on that through law school as well, work for lawyers and big firms to kind of see what I might want to do in the future to prepare myself.
Definitely Agribusiness 260, data analysis in Excel. It was a really useful class, analyzing really large data sets and pulling out really relevant information. That's probably been the biggest help for me.
So really all my ag communications classes did. The one I'm in right now is Ag Comms 426, and we do mock interviews like all the time, and just speaking in front of our class a lot, as well as Communications 301 and business communications, where we had like very structured interviews that you had to take extremely serious, and the class wasn't super easy. Learn by doing.
So my initial interview for the internship was the only real interview that I've done with Novo. Besides like exit interviews, when I leave the internship, we have an interview to talk about my experience, kind of what happened. There's managers and supervisors evaluations at the end of each year. So I was able to do that during my co-op because I was there through December. But I never really interviewed for the position prior to me leaving my co-op, which was 6 months. They gave me an offer right before I left to come back to Cal Poly to finish my last 2 quarters. I definitely think after my third, they started treating me just as a regular employee. They gave me a lot of freedom, and I already went through orientations, safety orientations, and new employee orientations and such. So I don't think that they will do it again, just because I've been with them for so long. But they very well could, and they do have things available for that.
Nice. Are you excited to start with them?
I'm very excited.
Dope.
September 1st.
Nice. Thanks, Mitch.
Yep.
Definitely just being open to new experiences, even if it's not a job that you necessarily love or see yourself working at for a long time. Just giving it 100% and making the most out of your time there and forming really strong connections with employers that you can use later in life, I think would be really helpful.
All right. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So as you can tell from our 3 interviewees, different companies choose different tactics and methods to choose the employees that they will be hiring. Mitch in particular was a really good example of work sampling, which is defined as a selection device requiring the job applicant to perform a small sampling of actual job activities. His internship is a great example of work sampling because although he wasn't given the full range of what being an employee would do at his job, it did give him insight into what he would be doing in the job.
So another aspect of the hiring process that our interviewees focused on was the interview process. So within that, there are behavioral interviews, which is what Wyatt described as his experience. And behavioral interviews are basically just observing the job candidates, not only for what they say, but for how they behave. So it's very important to remember to dress the part and to focus on the way you're presenting yourself and not just on what you're saying to the employers. Also, another aspect of the interview process is interviewer bias. So basically, this is just the image that's created by reviewing materials such as the resume, the application, or test scores prior to the actual interview. So in Juliana's case, she actually avoided interview bias by going into more of a private company and just speaking with the owners directly and getting hired in that way, as opposed to going through a normal application process and then having to deal with interviews. So there's multiple aspects of interviewing process, and it's important to think about and focus on all of them before you apply for a job.
So in summary, as you can see from our interviewees, they give us examples of all the different kinds of varieties and tools that companies use to choose their potential new employees. And we as a group think that understanding these tactics that they use and being able to adapt to a company and how they hire is really important for graduating seniors in order for them to get potentially the job of their dreams right out of college.